Welcome everyone, and happy Thursday. It is noon Eastern time, back in the booming metropolis known as Ambler, Pennsylvania, just outside of Philadelphia, PA. Thursday, noon Eastern time, Ambler, you know what that means. It is time for Talent Experience Live, the show that covers everything that you need to know in talent acquisition, talent management, human resources, and artificial intelligence as a whole. Talent Experience Live is proudly brought to you by the good folks here at Phenom, whose purpose is to help 1 billion find the right work. That is why we host this program every single Thursday, why we had a spectacular event yesterday known as AI Day, why we've been at every single HR Tech event under the sun, why we host another fantastic podcast with Cliff Yerkowicz, and really why we do everything. But the way that we are able to help 1 billion find the right work is through our applied artificial intelligence talent experience management platform, which helps candidates find the right fit faster, employees evolve in their current roles and beyond, recruiters achieve next level productivity and efficiency, and managers, who could forget about them, they get to build better teams through data, automation, and analytics. So if any of this interests you at all, following this program, because we have a great episode for you today, run, don't walk to phenom.com to learn more. Feel free to hit that request a demo button. But yeah, check out AI Day as well. It happened yesterday. You don't want to miss it. Anyway, now that the bills are paid, the boxes are checked, it is time to get into today's episode. I know that I mentioned we've been at every single HR Tech event under the sun, and just a few short weeks ago, we were out at HR Tech in Las Vegas, where I had the pleasure to sit down with Ilan Frank of Checkr. He is the Chief Product Officer there, and we talked about their brand new report, the Alignment Advantage, which specifically dove into artificial intelligence. It was a survey, I believe, over 6,000 individuals, where they shared their experiences with artificial intelligence, where they think the future of work is going, and so much more. And this was a really fun conversation with Ilan. I think I caught him off guard asking if he's ever been in the restaurant industry, but that's what this show is all about. It is about having fun conversations that are applicable to the human resource industry. So without any further hesitation, here is myself and Ilan out in Las Vegas. Welcome to the program. How are you, Ilan?
Thank you. Great. It's been amazing.
Yeah. How's the event been for you so far?
It's been really good. Yeah, I haven't been to one of these HR Tech, so this is fun.
Well, I'm sure it won't be your last. You won't be here again. Super excited to have the discussion with you today. I know the Alignment Advantage report just came out. Before we dive into that, for anyone who may not be familiar with Checkr, can you give us a little bit of an elevator pitch, like you haven't done that 30 times today?
All right, by now I should be really good at it. Yeah. So Checkr is a data platform that helps power safe and fair decisions. The product that people know us the best by, of course, is our background check software. But you can think of the data that we have actually as being able to be used for many decisions around identity, fraud, risk, when it comes to people. So we're branching out beyond background checks and getting into other decision points. Anytime from dating to renting cars. To visiting a school. Could be a time where you're making a decision on a person.
It seems like a very valuable time to kind of have that information with this influx of artificial intelligence, the fraudulent conversations that are happening. So I know the report, I believe, is out now.
It is.
It is.
Yep.
Let's talk about it a little bit. What does it consist of? What are the overall themes with the Alignment Advantage?
It's really interesting. So as a background, what we wanted to do was we wanted to survey both customers from their side of fraud and AI and how they view it in the interviewing process, and candidates and their side of how they view not necessarily fraud, but how they use AI and look at that gap. And so we surveyed 6,000 people, 3,000 customers that have done a hire in the last 6 months, and 3,000 candidates that have gone through the same process, and asked them a bunch of questions about that process. And what's super interesting, I won't go through all the details because I know we're going to go into it, but at a high level, what it reveals is the gap in trust. You know, that is a trust relationship
Yeah.
when you hire someone.
Mhm.
And so it actually revealed a lot more about the the relationship, the lack of or the need for trust than it did about AI or fraud or anything like that. But certainly it revealed a lot of stats about that.
It's very interesting to see both sides of
Yeah.
the coin there, right?
Yeah.
Because you walk around here today and everyone is talking about the need for speed, right?
Yep.
Artificial intelligence is going to get people in your organization faster.
Yes.
But rarely do we talk about the impact that that has on candidates
Right.
as a whole, right?
Right.
And I
Right.
think there is, you mentioned artificial intelligence on both sides. So
Yes.
I want to ask you, obviously customers' data is a little bit easy to get to survey. You have emails and things like that.
Yes.
How did you go about getting the candidates to respond to the survey?
Yeah, so I mean, actually, the candidates were very forthcoming,
Okay.
and we work with candidates all the time. I think that maybe part of it might be the fact that we like to treat candidates very fairly on the Checkr side. We believe that the interface on the candidate side should be very delightful,
Yeah.
is the word that we use. There's no reason why it should be hard or confusing or frustrating.
Yeah.
We've embedded an AI agent
Yeah.
to help that is actually intelligent. It actually connects to the data that you have, that your report has on it, so that you can ask it questions, right away. So we've always taken that position, and I think because of that, we earn trust
Yeah.
with the candidates. So actually, this was not one where we had to go and pay people a lot of money to take a survey.
You're not
I think
knocking on doors.
no, I think it was the relationship that earned us
Okay.
the right to ask
No,
these questions.
That makes sense. I noticed that the report says that 26% of organizations, or HR teams, I should say,
Right.
don't have clear goals when it is aligned to AI.
That's right.
I think that's interesting because everyone here at HR Tech wants to talk about AI.
Right.
Do you think there's a disconnect on not having goals because it's so new and no one really knows how to implement it successfully in their organization? Is
think
it
there's-
kind of a waiting game, I guess is my question.
I think there's a couple things.
Yeah.
As you can tell by the gray hair, I've been doing this a while. I've gone through mobile and cloud and even a little bit of client server in the early days. And so I've been through these transformations, and they usually begin with the sales team, the R&D team, and then it gets to HR. So I think part of it in finance and all that.
Yeah.
So I think that those departments usually get those mandates later anyway. The other thing, though, I think that's very particular to AI is that AI is non-deterministic, which makes it, not the best tool to use for an area that is regulated, where there's a lot of lawsuits, and that is HR. And so I think that it's a little bit slower to adopt into or be adopted into those departments, and I understand the reluctance there.
Absolutely, especially from a background check perspective. That's a lot of personal information that
Right.
you don't want to insert into just any LLM or any sort of GPT
Absolutely.
or something like that. So it makes sense of understanding where we are today and how we can apply this technology safely. Right?
That's exactly right. Safely and fairly,
Fair,
because
yeah.
you're absolutely right. You don't want to take that data and just feed it off into a LLM and have data leakage.
Yeah.
But also, I don't think it's fair to make a decision
Yeah.
on a candidate purely from AI. AI should certainly assist in certain workflows in the hiring process. I'm not saying don't use AI,
Yeah.
but making decisions should, I think, still be a human element, and that's how we see ourselves, is enabling humans to make decisions.
Yeah, and I think there needs to be, and I know the report talks about this a little bit, transparency on both sides.
Absolutely.
Where you as an organization have to say, a human's going to make this decision,
Yeah.
but throughout these steps of the process is artificial intelligence. Are you okay with that?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Are companies beginning to implement that sort of structure
Right.
where they're being transparent as, hey, we're using AI, it's not going to be the final decision.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that the report was very fascinating in what it found, and this bridge or gap, whatever it is that you want to look at it, between employers and candidates on the AI spectrum. But one thing that they found in common is transparency, is the need for transparency, which is not necessarily surprising when you talk about trust.
Yes.
But that was one thing. What was surprising to me was that one thing that they did not agree on is what defines fraud.
Okay.
But they agreed on that transparency
Yeah.
is needed in the process.
Yeah, I think it's, the report also talks about, it's kind of a two-sided coin, right? Where we understand that candidates are also leveraging artificial intelligence.
Absolutely.
To give themselves the best chance, right?
The candidates are ahead of the recruiting or the customers at this point as far as their usage of AI. Absolutely.
Yeah. How do you feel that a candidate can kind of disclose that in the process, right? Because it is a two-sided street. Both aspects, as you mentioned, want to be transparent, want to have that trust. How do you disclose that as a candidate that, hey, I did use artificial intelligence to give myself the best chance?
So the way we view it at Checkr as a company when we hire is that we are transparent, or we, not to overuse that word, with the candidates that they will be expected to use AI.
Okay.
We have actually a goal. I have a goal for my department of 90% of the people in my department using AI on a weekly basis to do their job.
All right.
And we've already at 89%, by the way, so we're going to hit it this year.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I set that expectation with all new candidates. And I say it's okay to use AI during the hiring process. Just let us know when you used it.
Yeah.
That's all. And other than that, I have no problem with you refining your resume using AI. I have no problem. We have some take-home assignments on the R&D side where we have an engineer or a product manager or a designer. I have no problem with you using AI to respond back with a take-home assignment, as long as you're straight up on forward on what you did.
Absolutely, especially if the job requires you to use artificial
Exactly.
intelligence.
I want you to show off your skills, your AI skills. It's not a bad thing.
No,
I think that everyone agrees that like a total deep fake of like a fraudulent candidate, like AI avatar, that obviously I think both sides agree that that's not right.
Yes.
But if you're talking about helping you with answering questions all out, again, unless the only thing that I would be uncomfortable with is if it's just basically completely hidden.
Yeah. I mean, and that is not a new issue in this industry.
That's right.
Where people have had other people stand in for interviews for them, or show up to the job day one.
That's right.
I just read a crazy article the other day. There was a remote worker who was working 6 full-time jobs at once. Did you see this story?
Yes, I saw this story. We actually, at the time, we were like, oh, let's look up to see if we see this person in our database. And we saw the person in our database.
That's insane.
But
yeah, I mean, I don't recommend anyone work 6 full-time jobs, especially for direct competitors, and that's the way that goes into it there.
Right.
That is a rabbit hole that we won't go down. But
to your point though, you're right. This isn't new. The DOJ, I don't know if you saw, but released a report. This was about a year ago, that even during COVID, before AI, deepfakes, and all that 300 U.S. companies had reported that they had a North Korean employee after they saw the IP address of where like the laptop was registered and all that.
Okay.
So we'll get through the hiring process.
Yes.
And this is before AI and all that. So this is something that you're right, is not new. We've faced it. It's going to obviously accelerate though with these tools that we have now.
Of course, yeah. I mean, I have come from a background in staffing, and I have, you meet people virtually, they show up to the job, it's like, this is not the person that we said they were.
That's right.
So it's fascinating that it is accelerating so quickly with artificial intelligence, and it stems back to, not to overuse this word again, the transparency factor of it all. I want to ask you, from a artificial intelligence perspective, do you think it will be used to catch some of those challenges sooner, right? If somebody is deep faking, themselves, or relying on someone else to do the interviews.
I think so. Yes, I think so. I think right now in the game of cat and mouse. Not that I want to, map the candidate to a cat or a mouse. That could be insulting, but I think the candidates are ahead as far as their usage of AI. I think most of it is honest, good usage. By the way, I don't think that we should look at candidates in a negative way, but they're definitely ahead. But I think that as technology evolve on the hiring front, as you see, more and more are interested in that, we're going to be able to detect those.
One of the things that jumped out to me from the report was the fact that 75% of candidates would prefer the majority of their interactions to be human-based.
Yes.
Walking around here, seeing how much people are kind of trying to get away from that.
Yeah.
How do we find that level playing field of this is the candidate's expectations, but we're not headed in that direction?
Yeah, look, I was at my first conferences in 1997, and even back then it was difficult to get people come to your booth. You know, it was like I don't want to talk to anyone, so I don't know that that's anything new necessarily. I think that that's right. I think that it's important. I think that that is. Look, I mean, on the slippery slope road of AI, I think that when we go past the point when AI is used to build trust, and AI is starting to break apart trust, I think we've gone too far. And part of the way we build trust is through human-to-human interactions. And so I hope that, let's take Phenom for example. I hope that, and I don't say this just to be nice to you all, I really do hope that people use technology like yours to, welcome people, to expand the pool of candidates that they're reviewing, even to do, AI detection, but really more importantly, to broaden the type of humans that they would be able to see, but then eventually get to a human-to-human interaction in the hiring process. I don't think that the human interaction needs to be 100% of the process, but you need to know the team that you're working with. I think that connection is really important.
I 100% agree, and I think that the next evolution of talent acquisition is going to be, I had a conversation with Deloitte a few weeks ago. There was an employee of an organization, kind of was the gatekeeper of everything. They created an agentic version of him before he left. We called it Digital Doug, answered any questions that anyone needed. And I see that in maybe 2-3 years, we're going to start to finally get rid of the resume. And the application process is going to be human to agent of some sort of a recruiter, where you can show your skills that don't show up on a resume. You can really bring your full personality, get to that next step, and then enter the human, right?
Absolutely. I spoke to someone at the show yesterday that runs a large company, very, very well known, I won't mention them, but runs manufacturing plants in the US. And she's responsible for screening, and there was a resume that she saw that would have not passed the initial phone screen. Like they would not have even looked at it. But because they're using agentic to do that the initial phone screen, they interviewed her and she passed with flying colors. And so I think that that's good. I think that that's a good thing, that we're not going to hold people up to the piece of paper that they created and how good they are at using necessarily ChatGPT to create a resume. I think that we should go beyond that.
Yeah, I absolutely. I think that there was a time and a place where fit scoring based on resumes and things like that would save recruiters time.
Yeah.
But there are always going to be diamonds in the rough. That grow up to be fantastic employees at your organization.
Absolutely.
And if you can give them a fair shot, I think that builds trust back for the candidates initially, because they truly get to not end up in that black hole that we always talk about.
I mean, I think that it's natural, right? With AI, the one thing that it kind of equalizes is knowledge. So, and so the resumes are a pretty good way of, a kind of good way of looking at someone's knowledge, or at least experience, right? What they're not doing is they're looking at the soft skills, right? The behavior of what you were like in those jobs. And that, ironically, is exactly what we need to lean into in a world of AI, because that's what AI doesn't bring to the job. So I want to look for soft skills when I interview. I don't even look anymore like, okay, how many encyclopedias can you recite? I don't care anymore. I've got that in my pocket. What I want to know is like, how can you, what kind of person are you as far as collaboration, as far as like, your interactions, your response time, your rigor, all those things, basically.
No, it's my wife works in talent acquisition, and she has kind of a rule on her team that anyone that she hires, she always wants to work in the restaurant industry. Because things get crazy, and no one's going to put that server job that they had in high school on their resume because it doesn't feel relevant. But if you can have that conversation and build that trust, show off those soft skills, even if you don't have a restaurant background, you're able to advance yourself.
I totally agree. Awesome. I think service industry is a great first job.
It is.
Yes, I worked at a restaurant myself. Yes,
Were you good at it?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. I learned a lot. I learned a ton. You learn customer service. You learn humility. You learn collaboration in a restaurant. You're handing off things all the time. You're thinking on your feet. I was a server, and so you're trying to get tips, and so you're thinking about how to treat the customer well. I think it's a great first job.
And your thinking on your feet skills just showed there, because that question was not prepared before.
No, I was not ready for that.
But no, I think you're absolutely right, and I want to ask you. I will circle back to kind of the report as itself. Where can folks find out more about the report, and how do we think that some of this data is going to change over the next couple of years? Right, there's a huge gap in trust. Do we think that will maybe become more closer together, I think is the way that I want to phrase that? Or will we continue to lose trust?
That's a deep question there. For the first question, it's on our website, and it can be, of course, Googled, and hopefully you'll have in the notes a deep link to it. It is a really fascinating report. I think what'll be even more fascinating than this one report is, to answer your second question, is touch points. Continuing to do this year over year, and seeing basically what the trends are as we get deeper and deeper into this new AI world. And so I don't know how to predict it. I default, I'm an optimist. When COVID happened, everyone was like, we're never going to work together again. And I was like, you know what? Humans are good, and they like other humans, and I think we are going to work together again. And look, we're face to face. We're here. I think that it's going to go in a positive direction. I always think that humans are going to do good things, basically. So I'm an optimist.
I love that, and I think that it is so new that it feels terrifying at this exact moment, right? Especially when people are, we're going to lose all of our jobs and all sorts of stuff. I don't think that'll ever happen. We're going to need humans, especially in talent acquisition, because of what the report stresses.
Oh, absolutely. I absolutely. I mean, there will be some job changes and all that. I talked about 90% of people in my department that are using AI. That does not mean that we've gotten rid of a single person, right, in the company because of that. The opposite, we're hiring, but we're doing more with less. So I don't look at it in the negative light. I think that, again, there will be a lot more productivity around, and in recruiting specifically, we will need people, absolutely, in the future. We're not going away.
One of my favorite examples of that is the invention of the ATM, or the Mac machine, as they call it in Philadelphia. Bank tellers were never going to exist anymore. When you need to go get a mortgage, when you need to go get a loan, you still want to have that human conversation to explain why you're applying for these sort of things. And banks are still there, right? Jobs have changed. It's less transactional than maybe it was in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s.
That's right.
But they're still needed.
That's right. So I could see certain jobs being, changed, like the scheduling of interview processes and things like that. Like that will be less human-led and more machine-led. But, the actual going out and saying, is this the decision-making of, is this person a good fit for our company? And are they going to, benefit, the greater good of this company? I don't see a world, certainly not anytime soon, where AI makes that decision and leads that way and all that, because the human won't want to join that kind of company. So I just don't see that happening.
Makes complete sense. Well, I want to thank you for your time. Is there any parting shots, anything that we may have missed that you wanted to cover? Because I know I bounced around all over there. I asked you about your server background.
It was great. Thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to, and also the partnership. I think that the other thing I will say is that from an AI perspective, both from fraud as well as the benefit of AI, you're seeing a lot, in the show, you're seeing individual vendors right now in the early day kind of put pieces together and add on, I think you said early on, tack on AI. I think that it's going to change where it's an ecosystem. You see MCP, for example, being used for AI systems to talk to one another. I think that we're going to need this in the human world too. for these systems to connect and talk to one another. So I think it's going to be an exciting future here.
No, it certainly is. Can't wait to have you on again.
Absolutely.
Definitely for the next iteration of the report and see how we start to make that gap a little bit smaller when it comes to trust. And I'm excited about the partnership with Checkr as well. I want to thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. We'll see you soon.
Thank you so
Have a good
much.
one.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks.
Ilan, thank you so much again for joining. It was a pleasure chatting with you. I think next time we have to do it a little bit earlier in the week. We recorded that on Thursday out in Las Vegas, and the desert air, I think, had just sucked the life out of me. So I appreciate you having a fun, free-flowing conversation with me. You are a wealth of knowledge. Can't wait to have you on the program again. And also shout out to our fantastic partner, Checkr. If you are interested in downloading the Alignment Advantage report, there is a link within the description here, whether you're watching on LinkedIn, YouTube, or listening on Spotify. So definitely check that out. But in the meantime, I hope everyone has a safe, happy, and healthy weekend. Next week, we are diving into Customer Obsession Day, another kind of recurring event that Phenom does. If you haven't heard of it, it's because you're not a customer, and shame on you. You should become one. Anyway, once again, have a safe, happy, and healthy weekend, and can't wait to see everyone next week. Thanks so much. Bye.